What does it take to become the defining face of a generation, only to be thrown to the wolves by the very industry that created you? Decades later, looking back on the scandal that nearly destroyed her life, Kate Moss finally said what everyone in the fashion world already knew. "I felt sick and was quite angry because everybody I knew took drugs. For them to focus on me, I thought was really hypocritical. And the strange thing is, most people think they already know this story. Model gets caught, loses contracts, goes to rehab, makes a comeback. But the version most people know skips the part that matters most. It skips how we got there in the first place." In the 1990s, Kate Moss wasn't just a supermodel. She was a cultural phenomenon. She was the anti-Cindy Crawford, the anti-Naomi Campbell. Where they were tall, athletic, and impossibly glamorous, Kate was short, pale, and painfully thin. She was the poster child for heroin chic, a look that defined a decade and sold billions of dollars worth of clothes, perfume, and magazines. But behind the iconic Calvin Klein billboards and the Vogue covers was a much darker reality. This isn't a story about a girl who made bad choices. It's a story about an industry that actively exploited a vulnerable teenager, profited off her destructive lifestyle, and then orchestrated one of the most hypocritical public executions in modern pop culture history. Kate Moss was never the villain. She was the perfect scapegoat. The exploitation began before she was even old enough to drive. In 1988, a 14-year-old Kate Moss was discovered at JFK Airport by Sarah Dukas, the founder of Storm Model Management. She was just a kid from Croydon, a working-class borough of London returning from a family holiday in the Bahamas. She had no experience, no connections, and absolutely no idea what she was walking into. The fashion industry didn't see a child. They saw a blank canvas. They saw a girl who was eager to please and desperate to escape her ordinary life. By the time she was 15, she was already being exposed to the darker, unregulated side of the business. She was sent on castings alone, navigating a world of older men who held all the power. She later recalled a deeply unsettling audition for a bra catalog where a photographer asked her to undress, something that left her shaken and afraid. She could feel something was deeply wrong. She grabbed her things and walked out, but the message was clear. In this industry, your body is not your own. It belongs to the camera, and it belongs to the men behind it. There were no chaperones, no intimacy coordinators, and no safety nets for a working-class teenager from Croydon. The turning point came in 1992, when an 18-year-old Kate was cast alongside Mark Wahlberg for the now legendary Calvin Klein underwear campaign. Wahlberg was 21, already famous, and arrived with a large, intimidating entourage. Kate was a teenager from Croydon, with no one in her corner. The shoot required her to press her bare chest against a near stranger, while cameras captured every moment of her discomfort. She was so consumed by anxiety in the weeks leading up to the shoot that she couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks. She went to her doctor, who prescribed her Valium, but photographer Francesca Sorrenti intervened and told her not to take it. There was no therapist, no support system, no one asking if she was okay. As Kate herself later said, "Nobody takes care of you mentally." She felt incredibly vulnerable and intimidated, with no protection and nowhere to turn. But Calvin Klein didn't care about her anxiety. In fact, they capitalized on it. That look of pure, deer-in-the-headlights vulnerability, the dark circles, the exhausted posture, the frail frame, was exactly what they wanted. They packaged her fear and sold it as high fashion. The campaign was a massive global success, and it cemented Kate as the ultimate anti-supermodel. This was the birth of heroin chic. The fashion industry, bored with the healthy, athletic, Amazonian look of the 80s supermodels like Cindy Crawford and Linda Evangelista, became obsessed with the aesthetic of addiction. They wanted models who looked pale, emaciated, and exhausted. They wanted dark circles under the eyes, hollow cheekbones, and a sense of tragic apathy. They wanted the look of a junkie, but wrapped in designer clothing. It was a deeply cynical marketing strategy. Sell clothes by romanticizing self-destruction. And Kate Moss was their ultimate muse. She became the face of a trend that glorified self-destruction. But the irony was staggering. As Kate would later clarify, she wasn't anorexic and she wasn't doing heroin. She was just a teenager who was being worked to the bone and barely fed on set. Yet, the industry happily let the public believe she was a glamorous addict because controversy sells. And the uncomfortable truth is that it worked on all of us. We bought the magazines. We made those campaigns iconic. The industry created the trend, but we gave it its power. It's worth asking what we were actually celebrating. When the backlash inevitably came, when concerned mothers and politicians, including President Bill Clinton, began condemning the fashion industry for promoting drug use.
Images projected in fashion photos in the last few years have made heroin addiction seem glamorous and sexy and cool.
The industry didn't take responsibility. They didn't admit that they had manufactured the trend. Instead, they pointed the finger at Kate. She became the scapegoat for a cultural anxiety that the fashion elite had deliberately engineered. As she navigated this toxic environment, Kate sought refuge in what seemed like a fairy tale romance. In 1994, she began dating Hollywood's ultimate bad boy, Johnny Depp. The media sold them as the ultimate grunge-era power couple. They were young, beautiful, and effortlessly cool. They were photographed in matching leather jackets, smoking cigarettes, looking like the king and queen of the 90s underground. The press romanticized their every move, painting them as tortured artists deeply in love. But the reality of their relationship was far from a fairy tale. It was a deeply toxic, highly destructive whirlwind of alcohol, drugs, and emotional volatility. They were two incredibly famous, incredibly damaged people, enabling each other's worst impulses. The relationship was characterized by intense passion, but also by screaming matches, public blowouts, and a shared descent into substance abuse. The chaos of their relationship frequently spilled over into public view. In September 1994, Depp was arrested after completely trashing their room at the Mark Hotel in New York City, causing nearly $10,000 in damages. The police found Depp intoxicated and Moss uninjured but surrounded by shattered glass, broken furniture, and the wreckage of a violent argument. Depp claimed an armadillo had jumped out of the closet and caused the damage, a bizarre excuse that only highlighted the absurdity of their lifestyle. This wasn't a romantic rebellion, it was a cry for help. Kate was a young woman in her early 20s, dealing with the crushing pressure of global fame, the relentless scrutiny of the paparazzi, and an industry that demanded she look perpetually exhausted. She was looking for a protector, someone who understood the madness of celebrity. But instead, she found herself in a relationship that only accelerated her downward spiral. She was trapped in a golden cage of her own making, unable to escape the toxic cycle. When they finally broke up in 1998, Kate was devastated. She later admitted that she cried for years over the loss of Depp. The end of the relationship, combined with the grueling demands of her career, pushed her to the breaking point. Later that year, she checked into the Priory Clinic in London. The official PR statement claimed she was being treated for exhaustion, but the reality of her lifestyle was an open secret in the fashion world. She was burning out, and the industry was watching it happen in real time. For years, the industry turned a blind eye to her partying. Why? Because she was still making them money. As long as she showed up to the shoots looking beautiful, as long as she kept selling magazines and clothes, the fashion elite didn't care what she was doing behind closed doors. In fact, her bad girl image was part of her appeal. Brands like Burberry and Chanel actively bought into the edgy rock and roll persona she had cultivated. They wanted the danger, but they didn't want the consequences. That all changed in September 2005. And if everyone already knew, if her lifestyle was, as insiders described it, an open secret, what made September 2005 the moment everything changed? What was different this time? Kate was 31 years old and dating Pete Doherty, the co-frontman of the Libertines, one of Britain's most celebrated rock bands, who had by this point been expelled from the group because of his addiction and had formed a new band, Baby Shambles. Doherty was a highly publicized addict, simultaneously worshipped and pitied by the British press, and their relationship was a tabloid obsession from the moment it began. One evening, Kate was at a recording studio in West London where Baby Shambles were working. Unbeknownst to her, someone in the room had a hidden camera. The grainy footage captured Kate Moss cutting lines of cocaine and snorting them. Within days, the stills from the video were splashed across the front page of the Daily Mirror under the devastating headline, "Cocaine Kate." The scandal exploded instantly. The tabloids went into a frenzy, portraying her as a degenerate junkie and an unfit mother to her young daughter, Lila Grace. There were even calls for social services to investigate her. The Metropolitan Police announced a formal investigation, and yet, after reviewing all available evidence, they ultimately decided not to prosecute. Even the legal system declined to make Kate Moss the villain. But the fashion industry had already made its decision. The very brands that had spent a decade profiting off her heroin chic image, the brands that had actively cultivated her edgy persona, suddenly clutched their pearls in mock horror. Within days of the photos being published, the dominoes began to fall. H&M, who had signed her as the face of a major campaign reportedly worth £4 million, abruptly dropped her. Chanel announced they would not be renewing her contract. Burberry, a brand she had been the face of for years, dropped her from their upcoming fall campaign. In the span of a week, Kate Moss lost an estimated £4 million in contracts. She was publicly fired, humiliated, and cast out by the corporate giants she had helped build. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. The fashion industry in the 1990s and early 2000s was notoriously fueled by cocaine. It was the worst-kept secret in the business. Photographers, designers, stylists, and executives were all partaking in the exact same behavior at the exact same parties. The very people who were now firing her had likely shared a bathroom stall with her at some point. But when the public demanded a sacrifice, the industry didn't hesitate to offer up Kate. They needed to protect their corporate image. So they threw their biggest star under the bus. They acted as if they were shocked that the woman they had marketed as the ultimate rock and roll party girl was actually partying. They had spent years selling her bad girl image to consumers, profiting off the illusion of danger and rebellion. But the moment that danger became a PR liability, they severed ties. They didn't drop her because they were shocked. They dropped her because it was no longer profitable not to. Kate wasn't fired because she did drugs. She was fired because she got caught, and the brands needed a way to wash their own hands clean. Kate was forced to issue a humiliating public apology. "I take full responsibility for my actions," she said in a statement. "I also accept that there are various personal issues that I need to address and have started taking the difficult yet necessary steps to resolve them." She checked into the Meadows rehab clinic in Arizona, retreating from the public eye while the media continued to tear her apart. But the fashion industry underestimated Kate Moss. They thought they could discard her, but they forgot one crucial detail. The public didn't actually care that she did drugs. In fact, the scandal only made her more fascinating. While the corporate executives panicked, the creative side of the industry rallied around her. Designer Alexander McQueen famously took a bow at his Paris fashion show wearing a t-shirt that read, "We love you, Kate." Friends like David Lippman and Fabien Baron stood by her. And perhaps the most telling detail of all, Burberry, one of the brands that had so publicly cut ties with her, signed her again within 12 months. Same Kate, same story, but a different news cycle. When Kate emerged from rehab, she didn't just survive the scandal, she weaponized it. The bad girl image that the brands had tried to distance themselves from suddenly became her greatest asset. Within a year, she had signed 18 new contracts. She collaborated with Topshop on a wildly successful clothing line. In 2006, just 1 year after being dropped by almost everyone, she was named Model of the Year at the British Fashion Awards. She had beaten the industry at its own game. Kate Moss's story is a masterclass in survival. She was discovered as a child, exploited for her vulnerability, blamed for a cultural crisis she didn't create, and publicly sacrificed by a hypocritical industry. She was the ultimate pawn in a billion-dollar game of image and perception. And the ultimate irony? Decades later, she is still an absolute icon. But the whispers never really stopped. While some see her as a triumphant survivor who beat the industry at its own game, others look at the lingering tabloid rumors and wonder if she ever truly escaped that toxic lifestyle. Did she break out of the golden cage? Or did she just learn how to survive inside it? Do you think anyone can walk away from the high fashion world completely unharmed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.